Hi there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Harmonies by Lebelude.
Harmonies is a game in which you're going to be drafting tiles from a center tile drafting board and placing those tiles on your own personal board. And you're going to be doing this in a manner that matches different patterns on animal cards that you will also be drafting. And the player who is able to match up the patterns on their animal cards the most is going to most likely be the winner in this game. And the theme of this is that you're building habitats for a harmonious environment for the different animals that you have on your board. And it's a very simple game, but there's a lot of depth to this particular one. Let's go down to the table where I'll teach you how this one works, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, I have Harmonies on the table. Let me show you all about this tile drafting game in which you are trying to build habitats for your different animals. Now, what you're going to have for components in this game, every player is going to have their own player board that will be in front of them, and there will be a central board here. This is the side for playing a multiplayer game with 5 different drafting areas that have 3 of these wooden painted tokens each on them. If you're playing a solo game, you're going to flip this over, and there's only going to be 3 drafting areas for you to choose from. There are lots of cards in the game. You'll have a market of 5 cards available to choose from. Anytime a card is taken from the market, you'll replace it with a new one, but for right now, we're just going to keep the cards in a deck right here. There are lots of cubes that are these translucent orange see-through cubes. There are going to be white translucent cubes. This is going to be for the module that you can play with the game, the nature spirit cards that you're going to add if you've played the game before. And there are going to be some nice player aids, as well as a score pad and a bag for all of the extra tokens in the game. Now, what you're going to be doing in this game, it's actually quite simple what you'll be doing. You'll be drafting one of the different pods out here, taking all 3 of the tokens from one, placing them on your board, and possibly taking one of the animals that are out in the market. Again, there's going to be 5 cards out in the market. You have space to hold 4 different cards, and if you match one of the patterns on the card, you will then take a cube that is on the card, placing it out here on the corresponding token on your board, and that's how you're going to score most of your points in the game. Now, in more detail, how this game is going to work. Starting with the first player, whoever has this arrow pointed towards them, they will select one of the pods out here. And so maybe I select this one out here, and I have to place these on my board. Now, there are some rules about what can be placed and how it can be placed. It's actually on your player aid here that tells you what each of the scoring conditions are going to be for the different types of tokens. Each one represents something. So this is going to represent a bush if it's on the ground. However, if it has one of these brown tokens underneath it, well, now it's become a tree, and it is a tree of 2 height. Now, you can place another one underneath it to make a tree of 3 height, and that's important because trees are going to score you points. Now, bushes, they'll only score you 1 point, but if you have a tree that has one of the brown trunks underneath it, that's worth 3 points. And if it has 2 brown trunks underneath it, that's worth 7 points. Now, you could just have 2 brown trunks. That's not going to score you any points. You have to have the leaves on top. So that's how the leaves are going to work, as well as the brown pieces. Now, the river pieces here, those are going to give you points based off of how long is the river. And depending on which side you're going to play with, you can play where there's this variant here, or you can play with this one here, which is however long you get your river to be increases the number of points that it's worth. So you want to try to get all of your river pieces to make one long chain. Your fields are going to give you 5 points so long as you have 2 fields, at least 2 fields adjacent to each other. You don't really want more than 2 adjacent to each other because you don't get bonus points for having 3 or more. You just get 5 points if there are 2 that are adjacent to each other. So you really only want to try to get 2. Your mountain pieces are also going to give you points, kind of like how those trees did. If it's just a one mountain on the ground, that's going to be worth 1 point. If you can stack it on top of two, well, that's going to be worth 3 points. And if you can stack three, that's worth 7 points. However, there is a catch. Your mountains need to be adjacent to other mountains. If you have a mountain that is all by itself, that's what that icon right there means, then it's worth 0 points. So you want those mountains to be next to each other. And then lastly, your red buildings are going to give you points so long as they're stacked on top of something else, such as a mountain, a tree trunk, or another building piece. And as long as you have it stacked on top of something, it will score you 5 points as long as it is surrounded by 3 different colors. So in this case, I've got a blue river here, a green shrub right here, and maybe I put a mountain right there on the side. Now I've got 3 different things surrounding it, and that's worth 5 points. So that's how each of the different individual tokens are going to score you points. But let's get back to really what you're going to be trying to do throughout the course of the game is trying to get the patterns that are on these animal cards. Because after you take these tokens and after you've placed them on your board somewhere, and I can place them however I want, so something like that, maybe perhaps, then I could draft one of the cards that are in the market. Now, I might be inclined to draft these raccoons right here because it's got this pattern right here, and I've already kind of got that going. Now, when you take a card, you're going to place it in one of your 4 slots that you have available to you, and you'll place cubes on each of these spots right here. So, for instance, I would have a cube there and a cube there, and this would just be right in front of my player board. Until I have removed all of these cubes. So let me show you how you remove the cubes. Now, after you take tokens from the drafting board, you're going to refill it with 3 more drawn from the bag at random. It would be the next player's turn. And let's say it comes back around to me, and this one right here is still available. Let's say I take that. And that would work out really well for me because now I have the river and the field here to be able to complete this pattern. Let's just say that I place that right there. Now that I have fulfilled this pattern, I get to take one of these cubes off of the card and I place it on the matching tile that is in this pattern, which in this case is going to be this yellow field, placing it right there. And that has given me 6 points. Now, if I can repeat this pattern again somewhere else on my board, I can take the other cube, place it on the yellow field for that time, and then I would have completed this card. I would set it off to the side, opening this spot right here for me to draft another animal on a future turn because you only have 4 spots, and the only way to clear these cards off is to remove the cubes off of the cards. And that's the gist of the game. This is going to go around and around until someone has 2 or fewer spots open on their board, and then that's going to trigger the end of the game, and everybody is going to get an equal number of turns. Now, you'll score points for all of your tiles that I explained to you at the beginning of the rules, and then you'll get points for the spots that you've cleared off on these cards, and whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. Now, you can throw in this extra variant here, these nature spirit cards, which are going to give you an animal that you already start the game off with. And it's a pattern for you to complete. You're going to use those white cubes that I showed you earlier instead of the orange ones, and you'll get points for having some sort of arrangement of tiles on your board, giving yourself points every time you meet that requirement. And so that's how these are going to work for you. They continually clog up one of your 4 slots, so that is something that you have to keep in mind when you're playing with that variant. Adds in a little extra challenge to the game. But anyhow, that's the gist with this one. Let's go back up top and share thoughts on Harmonies. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Harmonies from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So, Sam, this is one of the hotter games of the year. This was on the top 50 hot list on BGG for a very long time. Not that that means a thing to you. This was a game that got a lot of attention, especially overseas on the eastern side of the planet. And we finally got a copy of it, got to try it out for ourselves. And did it live up to the hype for you? What were your thoughts on this one?
I liked it. I mean, I always like, what type of game is this?
Tile draft, drafting and placing tiles kind of idea.
Yeah. I liked that a lot. So it was something that was, and it's a little bit abstract. And it definitely had a theme to it, but on the more abstract side, which I also like, I do think that I always have a hard time with games like this because you can't do everything.
Right.
You have to pick and choose, and I have a hard time. But it's also a game where after I play it the first time, I'm like, I can do better.
I want to play it again.
Yeah. And so that's definitely one of those games, and I think that puts it higher on my list because of that.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely one because it's a bit of a point salad and you're getting points from a lot of different things. It's not just about matching those patterns. It's also about trying to get your blue river tokens to make this long chain. You're trying to get your mountains. I mean, there's a lot, everything has its own scoring
One of those
condition.
games where you could read the rules all day long, but you have to physically play it to figure out what's going to work best for you.
Yeah. And I mean, every time you play the game, it's going to be dependent upon what is available to draft and what works well for the animals that are able to draft as well. So there's that factor of, some games you're going to be able to see what lines up so well. And then other times it's not going to be so clear. It's going to be more of a challenge to figuring that out. But I found it to be thoroughly enjoyable with the type of game that it is. There are a lot of games that are kind of similar to this. Azul is similar to this, but I feel like this is kind of its own different blend of that drafting these tiles and placing them on your board.
Yeah.
As you're trying to match these patterns, but you can stack the tiles on top of one another. Some of them you can, and that's a different aspect to the game as well.
I mean, it's 30 minutes. And I think that it is 30 minutes. And so it's not one of those games where, you play over an hour and you're like, man, I've done better. It is a game where you could play it twice in a night, which is, I think, beneficial.
Absolutely, yeah. And it gives you a fuller game experience at that 30-minute limit, which is pretty unusual, for a lot of 30-minute games.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's get to pros and cons for Harmonies. Let's hit the bullet points, the things that are really good, the things that maybe aren't so good. So what stands out to you on the pros for this one?
I mean, it is it's an easy game to understand. You know what your goals are. You know what you're trying to accomplish. I won't say it's easy to win.
No, yeah.
But it's easy to learn how to play. So that's a big positive.
Yeah. And I think kind of piggybacking on that is that being a point salad, there's lots of paths to victory, and so you're never fully assured that what you're doing is going to be the ultimate way to win the game, because you're not sure what that person's doing, what that person's doing. You can see their board and you can see how many orange cubes they've placed, but maybe they're really chaining their blues together. Maybe they're getting a lot of trees. Maybe they're doing other things that gets them points, and so that's a good thing about this game. You mentioned it's 30 minutes. It's quick and easy. I like also how it looks out on the table.
Yeah, it's a pretty game. I like the wooden tiles and how everything looks.
It looks very well polished, elegant look to it.
The colors are good. You're not mixing colors up, which I think has been a problem in the past with different games with a lot of colors.
Yeah.
The green and the blue look too similar, but I think they did a good job that we're not getting any of it.
Yeah, the components wise with this one is really good.
You can tell on the cards what they're looking for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will say on the icons at the bottom of the card, you could maybe make a mistake with, is that 2 mountain tiles or is that 3 mountain tiles? You do want to look really closely.
Yeah, I did mess that up once, I think. So
outside of that, I feel like everything about the iconography, the graphic design, the artwork, everything about their production is really top notch with this game. Any cons with this one?
I mean, some might say it does cut a little short. I think it's a lot of game in 30 minutes, but you may feel like you didn't accomplish everything you wanted to accomplish. But I think that's sometimes a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Yeah. Because you want to feel that tension. You want to feel that, should I really go for this? Because there's not enough time. Maybe I just need to play the safe route. Like, you need to have that tough decision space in a game kind of like this. But I do get what you mean by it feels like the game is over
you have
too
to make
quick.
Decisions.
Yeah, you do. You got to be precise in deciding when to go for things and when to just say, no, this is too late in the game. I really can't be going for that right now. I don't have enough space on my board. So yeah, you got to get good about that decision making with this kind of game if you want to do well. For me, I think the only con, and it's not necessarily a con, I just think it could be something that could maybe run into some trouble for some folks playing this game, because it is a point salad. you're going to have some troubles probably remembering how everything scores you points with the rivers, with the trees, with the mountains, with the fields. Like everything has its own scoring condition.
Yeah.
And not that that makes the game bad in any way. It's just that's a lot to maybe kind of hold in your brain as you're playing the game.
Yeah, and then figuring out, okay, which one do I want to go for?
Yeah.
Which one's going to get me the most
But
points?
there could be some AP a little bit. And it's not like crippling AP, but definitely some, just tough decisions that you have to make. So, okay, let's get to our scores. Scale of 1 to 10, love to hate on Harmonies. I'll go first on this one. I had my eye on this one for a very long time. I was finally able to get a copy of it, and I am thoroughly impressed with it. I really, really enjoy this game. It could make a top 10. I know I've said that a lot in a lot of videos,
We're going to have a top 20 this year.
but this is a great game. And if you get a chance to play this one, because maybe you're here in the States and, this has just gotten here in the last maybe couple months or so, and you haven't had a chance to play it yet, you absolutely need to, because it's a really, really good game. Definitely one that I think could work well for a lot of families. It is a great family weight game. And so that's, our bread and butter here on Love to Hate, so I got to give it good reviews. I'm gonna give it an 8.3. I think is where it comes in at for me. So, what about for you, Sam?
I was thinking 8.2.
8.2. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Any reason why you're right there at 8.2?
I mean, it's just the abstract qualities of it. It's quick. It's easy to learn. It is a game that after I played it, even though I lost, I was like, I could play again. I could do better. And I think that for me, that's generally a good thing for a game.
Okay. All right. Very well. So 8.3, 8.2, right on the same level with Harmonies. Let us know what you think about this one. Leave us some comments down below and let us know about Harmonies.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.